Hey everyone. So this week I'm going to talk about music, mindfulness, and exercise. Am I in the view of the camera? Oh, no. So essentially, oh, more this way. Yay. Um, what I want to talk about is basically how the education system kind of lacks skills that we could like have for life. In my blog, I talked about like changing a flat tire on the road. Small things that you don't learn in schools, but could be really relevant to everyday life, unlike a lot of the crap that is already in our curriculum. So, do we learn skills for life in school? Most of the top 100. Oh, thank you. The top 100 companies like Dell, Apple, etc. They essentially said that the skill that is lacking in most of the graduates these days is the ability to ask the right questions. They basically say that our ability to discuss things and have like an in-depth conversation where we give and take ideas, it's just lacking in all the graduates at the minute. Schools consistently instill like a right-wrong philosophy. When you're in class, like in science, for instance, when I was in secondary school, I always thought that like science problems were fact. Like this is this, and when you get out of school, you realize that like actually you don't know anything. Like nothing is dead cert. Like everything is questionable, and that's what I think science is about. And you don't get the impression of that in secondary school. Yeah. So what I said earlier, Dell, Apple, Unilever, and the U.S. Army, they all want like innovation. They all want to hear something new, and I don't think we're going to get that if we're going to like carry on with the education system we've got already, because we're not. Yeah, yesterday's answers won't solve today's problems. The senior vice president at Cisco described leadership as the capacity to take initiative and trust yourself to be creative. I especially find that coming and giving presentations or just writing blogs, I don't want to say anything wrong. I don't like to think that people are going to read it and be like, he's missed this, he's missed that, and you don't like to think that you're ever going to be wrong in these things. And I think that's what holds us back, because I should be able to come and give a presentation and get loads wrong and then learn afterwards that this is what I did wrong and this is how I can do it better. But that's hard because we don't like opening ourselves up to that vulnerability. People who are not afraid to try and fail, and I think we're all really afraid to fail, and I think that the grading system influences that, because I think once you get an F, you don't want to try, you don't want to go and put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable to crappy grades, because it's easier just to not do the essay or to not do the blog. And so in second year, when I was doing pops, like I just stopped showing up because I just didn't want to go and do presentations in front of people and make a bad job of it, so I just stopped. Which was terrible for my grades. Communication. We can't communicate very well, I find, especially like at the beginning of all these talks that we did. People making comments. It was really like hard to have interactions, I found, and I think that's something we should focus on. Spoon feeding in schools, it's not going to help. So the first one I want to talk about, first skill, is music. In 1988, the Conservatives deemed music services as non-essential, and in my opinion, Michael Gove kind of follows that. There's this kind of idea that music is like an option for kids. It's the same as languages, actually, which I didn't include in my presentation, but I think both subjects, people just don't take them as seriously as they should do, because languages is something deeply ingrained in humans. Music the same. We can all tap to a beat. Maybe we're out of time, but it's something we all have the capacity for. In Venezuela, they've had a new project called El Sistema, and that provides music for 500,000 kids. Just small things that the government can do to just kind of inspire kids to play instruments. Finland churns out more musicians and composers every year than any other country in the world, and interestingly, the Finnish schools use kind of like musical rhymes and things like that to learn stuff in class, especially in mathematics. The 2012 Ofsted report described schools as inadequate and barely satisfactory in terms of musical education. special ed students and those eligible for free meals receive significantly less musical support. And I don't really understand how that works, because social economic status shouldn't really come into, what you get out of the education system. But when I was in primary school, for instance, the music system they had there, you still had to pay for lessons. So even if you didn't have money, you didn't get to do music. And that's been the same. My sister's 12 now, and she's at secondary school, and she has to pay for music lessons. None of it is free. Instruments are expensive. It takes a lot of money, and I think we should emphasize kind of putting more money into that, because I think music is great. I think most people love music, and yeah, we should have more opportunities to learn. Interestingly, there's twice as many girls in music than boys. Not sure why that is, but I mean, that says a lot. And Ofsted also found that there was a lot more focus on like the academics of music than actual musical quality. So, music isn't just about writing a good paper on like how timing and things like that. It's about emotion and expression, and I think that we miss that in education completely. Just for some psychology, finally, Rosencrantz, Williamson, and Rothwell, they found that professional musicians had enhanced neuroplasticity, and that's the same for mindfulness, music, and exercise, in the sense that the more you use your brain, the more you can get out of it. Next slide, please. Mindfulness. So John Kabat-Zinn coined the thing of paying attention in the present moment non-judgmentally, and there's like a lot of controversy over the science of mindfulness and whether it's effective, whether it's not, but I think it is. I mean, I think that so Napoli and Crack and Holly, 2005, they did 1st to 3rd grade elementary school children, and the children that took part in the study did significantly better on attention measures than those that didn't. I don't think it's even just about academic success. I think it's just about being able to process your environment better. I think kids have a lot of problems with attention to begin with. People don't want to go to school because it's not fun. I think that mindfulness kind of addresses the attentional thing, and I think it also deals with coping with stress. Schoenert, Reichel, and Lawler found higher optimism and social competence, and that was in both adults and children after a mindfulness intervention. I should probably add that the mindfulness intervention for adults is like 8 weeks, but they used a 24-week one for the children in the elementary school. Caspanine, 2012. Actually, this was Chris Patterson commented on my blog and started talking about how teachers could equally benefit from mindfulness, and that's actually relevant because teachers have to be able to do it to teach it to kids. So I think that teachers could benefit from it as well. It's a very stressful job, and I think that mindfulness is a great stress coping skill. Farrington, mindfulness reduces mental health problems. So what I was saying about the neuroplasticity is that it basically slows neurodegeneration. So even if we argue that mindfulness doesn't have any immediate benefits for these kids in later life, like music, it's gonna be better for you to have had those skills, and yeah, it stops aging, as I think, to a degree. Next slide. Exercise. So same as music and mindfulness, I think it's like a wholesome thing. It's good for you. These are all things that we could just put in the education system. They're not hard to implement. They're not hard to do, but I think they have a great effect. Some studies: physical exercise lowers stress, improves concentration. Decamps, Bouget, and Brisset did a study on French college students, and they found that it wasn't how often they exercised, but the intensity of the exercise. So if you really push yourself in the gym, even for 20 minutes, you make a massive difference to like your self-efficacy and coping skills. So I think, yeah, that's something interesting, because I think pushing yourself is important, and I think that highlights that. Cotman, Birchall, and Christie, 2007, found that aerobic exercise increases neuroplasticity, so same as mindfulness and music. Patients reduce anxiety and depression through exercise, and yeah, sports increase social decision making through like team interactions and things like that. Next slide. So all of those activities, they're beneficial and can be enjoyable for children and adults. I think we have the resources to implement them in education, and I think that I've shown some evidence to support that they work and that they're beneficial. I think our current system, like everything run by the government, is pretty much not empirically based and just thrown out there in terms of politics, and I think we owe it to future generations to change it. Are there any questions? My mouth is all dry. Yes.
It's more of a discussion point, I guess, but I think sort of things like the creativity and music and mindfulness and things like that, and what as well. Do you think that they're not sort of focused upon so much because we can't grade them so easily, and because there's so much emphasis on grading?
So the question, yeah.
Do you think that they're sort of like not sort of implemented in schools as much as they perhaps should be because it's really hard to grade creativity out?
Yes, I do agree. The question was, yeah, is it about the grading issue and how can we, so sorry, what was the question in simple, like really short? I have to say it into the microphone, don't I?
Sort of things that require more creativity,
So yeah.
such as music and sports, do you think that they're not implemented as much?
Yeah, so essentially we can't measure creativity with grades so much, so that's why it's not implemented. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that we have to move away from the grading system because, especially in the Ofsted report, it shows you can't measure music like that. It's not just about specifics. It's about the whole thing. And exercise is you can't measure that either. It's about kids going and having fun and getting out there and being fit. It's not something you need to measure. It's just go out there and kick a ball around for like an hour. Yep.
Do you know how they do it in Finland? They have the sports and the music integrated.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. Can you tell us more about that at all? How do they?
I don't know, but how they do it, how they integrate
Oh.
music in schools in Finland, because they have it integrated in their curriculum, right?
Well, I was saying earlier that the Finnish, yeah, they use musical rhymes in like maths class and things like that because it's easier for like rote learning. But I think in terms of exercise, they don't. Is that your question?
No, because it's about how they grade them, how they integrate.
I don't know about the system of grading in Finland. No, that was just a small study I did. Yes, Jesse.
Are you suggesting that we should replace trigonometry with music?
Yes. Yes, I am.
I'm glad someone will actually say yes rather than, oh, well, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Good.
Music creates well-rounded children. Boom.
Mine's sort of social part as well. With the music and the mindfulness, but with like impaired children, so for autistic children, do I think
Yeah.
we can particularly benefit from that kind of calmness in school? I did a yoga class last night and I haven't slept in about 6 days, and I had the best night's sleep last night that I've had in such a long time, and I feel so much more relaxed today, and I think I'm going to try and implement it in the school that I work in.
Yeah.
If you do that just for 15 minutes a day with them, I think it might calm them down. So that should be something.
I agree completely. So yeah, talking about yoga this afternoon, I'm doing 2 hours of yoga in this very room, and afterwards I just feel incredible. It's very small things that we can do, and it's just about getting back in touch with your body. And it just seemed really simple, really easy to implement in a school. Why don't we give it a try? So yeah, I agree. Okay. Yay.